All right, we are live. It is week 10 of the NFL season. Thursday night football has happened, and it was very fun to watch. I had a blast watching it last night. Did you watch it last night, Kyle?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a nail biter of a first half for me. As if you listen to the fabulous big bet this week, you knew I liked them Colts getting a point or two. I got them at two. I got them at one, then I saw them get to two, and I doubled down on my bet there. So yeah, they ran away with it in the second half, and that's sort of what I expected. I just figured this Colts D could handle the Titans offense, and I didn't think the Titans would be able to get enough pressure on Rivers to make him look every bit of 38, 39, or 64, whatever age he is these days.
Yeah, Rivers looked his old self, and it was awesome to watch. Naheem Hines had a really good game again. That man is a baller. He's a league winner if you have him. He's going to continue to get touchdowns. And Jonathan Taylor, man, for dynasty purposes, you got to hold him. But we're going to talk about our flex players, our QB starts of the week, our running back starts of the week, our wide receiver starts of the week, and maybe we'll touch on tight ends, probably not. I know Kyle has a name, so we'll touch on a tight end or two. That sounds a little wrong, but let's move on to our quarterback starts, man. First one I'm going to talk about is an obvious one. It's Drew Brees versus San Francisco. San Francisco's defense is banged up. Just he's going to do what Aaron Rodgers did to them. So that's one of the names that I'm going to say, and I'm going to bounce it over to you for your next one.
So yeah, I got one sit, and well, I got a couple sits, but I got to start at every position for the week. My quarterback start of the week is Drew Lock. Drew Lock is chucking it downfield at an astronomical pace right now, and he's going against the Las Vegas Raiders this week, who have not done a good job of shutting anybody down. And the weather there should be beautiful. Again, if you watched or listened to the fabulous big bet, Memphis is on that over. Therefore, I'm on the over, because when Memphis drops a big bet, I am on it because Memphis is killing it with them. So yeah, Drew Lock this week against the Vegas Raiders. That's my start.
Mm-hmm. He's one of my guys who's a DFS bargain. You can get him for very cheap on DraftKings and FanDuel. So he's a quarterback that I would be playing. I think he'll have a top 5 finish. My next one I want to talk about was Tua versus the LA Chargers. This is a big matchup. Justin Herbert versus Tua Tagovailoa. I think that Tua is very talented, and without much game tape on him, they're going to be able to do a lot with Tua, and he's not going to be. It's not going to be like it's going to be a very scripted game for Tua, but the LA Chargers are going to be guessing at every single throw he does because they don't know what his tendencies are yet. Whereas the Dolphins could probably figure out Herbert's tendencies. I'd expect Tua to have a good game, and he's a DFS bargain as well for me. Next name is Jared Goff versus Seattle, just because he's playing Seattle. That's a big start for him. He should have a good week, but who knows? Maybe Pete Carroll just locks down for 1 week a year against the LA Rams and just destroys them. What do you think about Jared Goff?
I love it. Did you hear? Apparently, Pete Carroll had a soundbite after the Buffalo Bills game last week about how he had this great defensive game plan for the Bills if they came out running it. He must have no idea what's going on with his defense, because he should know by now that they can't stop the pass. So maybe he should figure out how to stop the pass before worrying about the run. I don't think it's going to happen this week, especially with the Rams at home in what is likely to be a shootout. That over under is like mid 50s. Yeah, I'll be starting Goff in a spot or two. And then the 201 I love as well, because I'm on that Chargers Dolphins over this week as my big bet. So yeah, I love the starts.
Let's move on to your sits.
Yeah,
I want to hear.
So here's my sits. Not that he's been great, but yeah. Matt Stafford is definitely a sit this week. It looks like Kenny Golladay missed practice again today. The over under is off the board. Everywhere I look, I want to say when I saw it earlier in the week, it was like mid 40s. So this does not have the makings of a shootout. This Redskins front seven will get after Stafford. And if they're without Golladay, I don't think it's, maybe I think I still like the Lions in this game, but there's so many better options. And then another potential sit in one quarterback and two quarterback super flex, you're probably not sitting on, is Deshaun Watson. This game over under opened at like 53 or so on Monday, and it's already down to 47.5 on my bookie, because the winds, I don't know what they are expected to be at this moment, but I think upwards of 30 to 40 miles per hour. and that will make for an ugly, keep it on the ground, check down, turnover-y type game. So if you got a Goff, Lock, or Tua out there, you're probably looking at them over Deshaun Watson this week.
I have to agree with you on that one. I think Cindy Stafford's a good idea. Another name I'm going to say is Kirk Cousins because they're going against the Chicago Bears. He's going to get under probably 200 yards, but he's going to have a couple touchdowns. He's not going to have a QB1 performance. Expect the heavy run game with a heavy play action to Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith. Irv Smith is my tight end start of the week. Little spoiler for you guys there.
Only issue there is somebody in the Patreon just dropped this is Irv had either a limited or sat out practice with a groin, so keep an eye on that. Otherwise, I was about to write down Irv until I heard that in the Patreon. Thanks whoever gave us the heads up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dang, I didn't know about that. Hawkinson's out with a toe injury. He did not practice yesterday, so that's another name to be.
He practiced today though.
He practiced today. That's good news. Then I'm starting him everywhere because that man has the safest floor in football. And then we'll move on to our running backs because I don't really have a QB sit other than Kirk Cousins. My running back start of the week is a Washington Redskin, but he's not your guy. It's Antonio Gibson. This is one of my favorite rookie running backs, and he's going against my Detroit Lions.
He's your favorite. You know it.
He is my favorite. Right behind DeAndre Swift, maybe. But he is my favorite rookie running back that's not on the Detroit Lions. Fire Matt Patricia. And he's going to have a good game because he played wide receiver. He can line up at wide receiver. And what can the Lions not stop is crossing routes. And that is one of the things Antonio Gibson's great at is just getting a crossing route and taking upfield for 40 yards. And he's going to do that consistently against the Lions because that's what Ron Rivera is going to game plan. Do you want to touch on the other running back?
Yeah, so I'm also going with somebody in the Washington football team backfield, J.D. McKissic. He had 14 targets last week, 9 receptions. That's 38 total targets over his last 5 games. Gibson has been good, but they haven't given him the keys to the third down duties yet. That's McKissic's role, and he will get those checkdowns. He will get the design screens. It sounds they do use McKissic and Gibson on the field at the same time too, correct? So this Lions defense is the worst in the league as it comes to giving up points to fantasy football running backs.
I just want to say there was a stat today that I saw, and it said that the Lions against NFC North teams when they're running the ball is the worst in the NFL. But when they play a team that's not inside the NFC North, they're one of the better teams against running defenses, which I don't understand. I don't get that. Maybe it's just because the NFC North is in their head. But
it's interesting. That's funny because I was talking on the Big Bet this week about Memphis and I always talk about what a number means, and so a total number or an average number is a story about a bunch of numbers. But like you said, sometimes you have to look beyond the numbers. Yeah, look, you're playing. In the NFC North, you got Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, and when he's healthy, David Montgomery, who's not a top tier running back, but as far as if you're telling me he's the third best running back in a division like that, that's 3 relatively. Let's call Montgomery. He's probably a top 15 or 16 running back. Yeah, exactly. So then you got Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook's in the top 3 or 4 probably. Aaron Jones is in the top 6, 7, and then you got another. So I buy that. But I'm still on McKissic and Gibson this week.
Yeah. I started JD McKissic last week. Just putting it out there, flex master over here. But I think JD McKissic is also going to have a good game. And for my other start of the week is DeAndre Swift against the Washington football team. I think that he has seen increase in snap share, and he's going to see an increase in targets this game because Stafford's going to get pressured a lot, and they're going to just do some dump off screens to Swift. And for PPR, that is good news for Swift. So I think that Swift is going to have a more substantial role against the Washington football team. We might see some Adrian Peterson because that's his old team, but I think Swift is a good start this week because he'll get you at least 10.
I love it. I'm sure I probably tagged you in the trade, but in one of so I'm in 3 dynasty leagues, and the one that I have a shot at, I just moved Ezekiel Elliott, who's on a bye, and Frank Gore in the 5th. So, pennies over there. Zeke and pennies for DeAndre Swift and Sterling Shepard. And
Mm.
I think it's only a matter of time before Swift's value is greater than Zeke's in
Oh yeah.
dynasty football. There's, I still think like Zeke hasn't been himself this year, whether it's the O-line, whether it's Dak being injured. Man,
Mhm.
that man had COVID. We have a small sample of NFL guys who've gotten it at this point, but I won't discount that. So, maybe he bounces back next year, but they haven't even figured out how to get him really involved in the offensive scheme, which is ridiculous because he's one of the highest paid running backs in the league. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Get 100 million.
yeah, let's get Swift going this week. I got him in a few spots.
I just traded for Swift as well in a league that I just joined, and this is the trade I did. Raheem Mostert, Chris Godwin, and Aaron Jones was the side that I traded away. So there's a lot of names there. But I got back DeAndre Swift, 2021 firsts, Keyshawn Vaughn, who's a play for 2021, and then Devin Duvernay, who's just a question mark. He was just a throw-in. So I think that, that's a good trade for me. I can reload my team. That's an orphan that I took over. I love Swift. So he's my running back start of the week. And then my running back sit of the week is going to be a Wayne Gallman versus Philadelphia. Guess who's coming back? Devontae Freeman.
I don't think he is.
Is he not?
he didn't practice that. He got downgraded.
Dang, man.
It's a good thing you got me on, Matty.
That's why you're here with me.
That's why they gave me this title down here.
Mm-hmm.
I get to
So maybe you can start Wayne Gallman with confidence if Devontae Freeman's out, but he's still a name that I'd be hesitant about because Philadelphia has just been a decent team, and this is the
and they're getting healthier. Their defense is getting healthier. Their offense is getting healthier.
Fletcher Cox was banged up at the start of the year, but continued to play through it. But he looks healthy now, and he looks like the game monster that he used to look like. So,
my
Wayne Gallman could be a start, but we don't know.
Yeah. If Freeman's out, I'll probably start him. I think I have him in, my rebuild that Memphis had me on the contract. He's one of my running backs. And honestly, I might try and just move him to somebody who needs a running back this week for any future pick just to get something out of him. Cause I don't think he has any long-term dynasty value, but otherwise, I'm happy to start him this week. I think he'll gobble up some targets out of that backfield like he has with Daniel Jones the past few weeks. My sits, one is this seems fairly obvious at this point. I think Joe Mixon is going to be a sit. I don't think he practiced today. I think that just came out, and that's a tough matchup against the Steelers defense anyway. So Bernard probably will still do well enough, especially in DFS because he'll be cheaper. You'll probably still get a return on your investment there. But I would hedge my bets against that Steelers defense. And then another one that I don't know, he's probably not a sit, but I would like you to hedge your bets on or hedge your expectations on this week is Dalvin Cook. You already talked about, that being a tough matchup for the Vikings on Monday night against the Bears defense. The Bears are pretty stout against the run and the pass this year. So, you're not going to get the RB1 overall numbers this week probably, but I think, if the Vikings get down, they'll get them involved in the passing game like Kubiak usually does. So yeah, that's what I got for you at running back. It's, I'm looking at the games this weekend. Like there's a lot of teams where it's like that, like the Niners, the Seahawks, who else? Like all these teams where you're like, I don't even know which of these running, like the Ravens, like who do you even start out of some of these back?
Yeah.
Like the Chargers. It's
so
wild.
Here's a group of names that I would not start this week, and it's the Miami Dolphins backfield. Stay away from them. I would stay away from the Chargers backfield as well.
Yeah.
I would stay away from maybe Phillip Lindsay. I would probably stay away from him. But a name that I'm starting with confidence is Zach Moss. I continued to drag this guy through the dirt at the start of the season. I did not like Zach Moss, but this guy's continued to be productive the last 3 weeks or 2 weeks now. And I'm starting him in a couple leagues that I have him in because why not? He's been productive, and I'm going to put him in against Arizona, who is not one of the better teams against the run. So I think Zach Moss could have a touchdown or two in the red zone, but he's going to get some carries, and he looks better than Devin Singletary has. So
yeah,
he's my last start at running back.
Love it.
And
who you got for us at wide receiver?
Okay, wide receiver Deontay Johnson at Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bengals, not a very good defensive team. They traded away Carlos Dunlap. They don't really have much going. Deontay Johnson, when he's healthy, has gotten over 10 targets a game. Deontay Johnson is a start this week, must start for me, as well as Chase Claypool. they're both going to eat, I think. So I would start both of them with confidence. That is my take for wide receivers. What are you going to say?
So I got one, and oddly enough, I stayed within that game. Tyler Boyd, he's gobbling up targets from Burrow. He seems to be quite the security blanket for him. And yes, the Steelers defense is good, but they are not necessarily great against the wide receiver as far as fantasy purposes. And
Inside wide receivers, the inside slot wide receivers eat against the Steelers.
Yes, and the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be, again, like they have been almost the entire year, except for their win against Tennessee, and then maybe their tie against the Eagles. It should be a negative game script for them. And Burrow's been throwing it roughly 45 times a game, I think. So I think Boyd's going to be a good piece of that offense.
Staying within that game, my wide receiver sit of the week. Temper your expectations for T. Higgins. Do not think he's going to blow up this week because they're playing the Steelers, who have a great secondary within the safety position, so they can cover deep shots. And, T. Higgins is a great deep shot wide receiver. Tyler Boyd, like you said, is the inside wide receiver, and he's the one who's going to get the most production this week out of that game. I would temper expectations for T. Higgins unless he can break a big play, which I doubt he can against this defense because that pass rush is nasty, and they'll get to Burrow quick.
For sure.
My next start, I'm going to go to a game where you said maybe to temper your expectations because of the wind, Jarvis Landry versus Houston. I like Jarvis Landry a lot. He's not a guy who's going to get deep shots. He's a guy who's going to get slants and over the middle passes, and it's windy. So, the ball, they're not going to throw it far. So Jarvis Landry should get a lot of targets this game, and he should eat. I like them against a banged up Houston defense. Houston's not been the best team this year, but they're getting better after they fired Bill O'Brien. I'd see Jarvis Landry probably going for about 80 yards and maybe a score, but in PPR formats, he'll have like 10 catches and 80 yards. So that's going to be like 18 points for you. So I'd be starting Jarvis Landry with confidence this week.
So I'm staying in that game for my sit of the week in Will Fuller for basically the same but opposite reasons. You're the same weather reasons and game script and lost my train of thought. Yeah, though he's a downfield guy for Watson, and I think it's going to be tough to get the downfield ball going this week. So, like you said, Landry is a guy close to the line of scrimmage and a bit of a security blanket for Baker probably, whereas, Watson likes to take shots downfield, especially to Fuller, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of that accurately this week if the weather stays true to its current word, which it doesn't always do. We know that.
And I'll give you guys a DFS bargain. Jerry Jeudy at the Las Vegas Raiders. He is very cheap for a elite wide receiver. I'm going to call him that right now because his route running is that good.
He's going to filthy on tape, man. He does the quarterbacks bad. Oh my god, I love that. That's like takes me back to like the high school flag football days, like whatever he could do, like or like the fake like quarterback scramble and like fake throw, even though you're way past the line of scrimmage already. Me and my buddies used to do that.
I love that.
Yeah, I love to throw the arm up like he's going deep and just made that corner look
and then makes a comeback. Yeah, it's great. I love that. And so that's my DFS bargain bin for you guys at wide receiver. Do you have anyone on DFS that you want to touch on at wide receiver, or should we move on to tight ends?
Who I was on last week that I was wrong about, but the process was right. It was Cole Beasley. It was a John Brown week, and I think John Brown has been limited again this week. So I think Cole Beasley could be a guy again this week.
This man continues to show up on our show sheet. Don't do this, man.
Why.
Start him where you're at. He's good, man. This guy is so underrated. And speak about underrated, tight end position. I'm moving on to them. Jimmy Graham has 8 targets in the red zone. And for a tight end who's aging, against the Minnesota Vikings, I think TJ Hawkinson had a tight end touchdown against them last week. So I would see Jimmy Graham getting a touchdown this week. So Jimmy Graham's a tight end that I would be starting. Do you have a tight end that you'd like to start? I don't want to touch on that former Lion, so I'll let you touch on him.
Before I go, so my DFS wide receiver I just pulled up because I knew I had a cheap one from when Memphis and I chatted Wednesday night on the big bet. Jakeem Grant.
Ooh.
Preston Williams out for the season, or he's maybe not out for the season, but he's on the IR for the Dolphins. He looked pretty good after Williams went out. Grant, that is, looked good after Williams went out last week. And this Chargers defense is atrocious. High, I'm on the over here if it's the weather stays nice in Miami. But yeah, moving ahead to tight end, Eric Ebron.
Sorry, just a Lions fan here. Just a Lions fan.
Should we bring up his athleticism, Matty, that you probably heard about every day for like 4 years, just waiting for that man to erupt? And
do you know how much I wanted Aaron Donald? I was so upset we took that stinker over Aaron Donald, but I will digress my rant there, and I'll let you continue with Eric Ebron.
Yeah. Not much to say other than this Bengals defense is pretty much bad against everything. So I just think he's a nice flyer. He's a cheaper DFS options if you're looking for a little bit of a dart throw with some upside. I don't know. I think let's see. I'm going to filibuster for a second as I look up his
I'll just talk about Eric Ebron. He's been used all over the field. He gets targets wherever they are. It doesn't matter if they're inside the 20 or if they're playing with inside the hash marks. He's going to get targets. He gets targets because of the wide receivers getting open. He's great for that reason. I think he's going to have a good week as well. I just don't like Eric Ebron as a person. So,
who you got for a sit of the week then?
Tight end sit of the week. I don't know. I think everybody, tight ends are just rough this year.
Yeah.
I might get sticky against the Chargers. I think.
I like him as a start this week with.
Really?
Remember what he did last year after Preston Williams went down?
No. I just know that he's a freak athlete who's better than Ebron at athleticism.
He went off when Williams, but again, that was with Fitzpatrick, and that wasn't with Chan Gailey. So yeah. I
just traded for Gesicki. I just traded Tyler Boyd for Gesicki in a second, so I'm hoping Gesicki has a good game. But I'm nervous. I'm nervous about starting Gesicki, so that's my gut feeling. Is that it's just a little nerves when I start Gesicki this week. But he'll probably have about 10 points in a good game. So
yeah.
But you're a tight end set of the week.
Yeah, so again, maybe spicy, maybe not. Mark Andrews has not had a great year to date. Regardless, last week I think we saw Nick Boyle even get involved a bit. I think Nick Boyle is one of those guys who, I feel like you could throw him into a lineup on any given week if you're looking, to turn $4 into $1 million, like Memphis said. I feel like at one point this guy's just going to have 3 catches for 2 touchdowns and 7 yards, but he's going to be dirt cheap, so you're going to put him into your DFS lineup and get all the chalky guys too. But yeah, this Patriots defense. Though they're not what they've been in the past, they are still good against the tight end. And, if we're looking at game script here, I think the Ravens are going to be able to have their way with the Patriots on the ground. And look, the Ravens don't throw the ball enough to justify Andrews being this top 3 tight end, especially right now. So yeah, those are the reasons why I would, be off Andrews a little bit this week.
You can count on your hands how many games Mark Andrews has over 60 yards. I think it's 7 or 6 in his whole career. So, it's not – he's a touchdown-dependent tight end. So, and, New England takes away tight ends. They eliminate them because they just hit them off the line of scrimmage as much as possible. So, I like that as a sit of the week. But going to that game, I have – Marquise Brown getting a long, deep shot bomb from Lamar Jackson. I have this gut feeling in me that he's going to get a touchdown, and it's going to be an 80-yard slant or something that he takes to the house. And it's going to be oh my God, Hollywood Brown's back. So Hollywood Brown is one of my starts for this week. And, maybe sit Lamar Jackson against New England. I don't know. But they're not good. New England's not a good team offensively, so Lamar Jackson could be in there a lot more, and he could have a good game. But Lamar Jackson has not been the QB2 that we thought he was this year, so I'm not sure that he's going to have a great game against New England at New England.
It'll be interesting. That's one where I could see it going either way. I could see Baltimore getting up early with, maybe Lamar tosses one to Hollywood, or maybe the running backs, all three of them could have a touchdown by the end of the first half. Lamar could have, a very mediocre game, and then they take the foot off the gas pedal. If they bring it back to, Baltimore of 2019 and they stay, foot on the gas pedal, then I could see Lamar rushing, having a big game on the ground, because this Patriots defense, they talk about on the GM Shuffle a lot how slow, young, and not athletic this Patriots defense is right now.
Yeah.
And that I think that Lamar Jackson, this offense, the speed of it, will just give them a lot of trouble.
Now let's touch on an injury before we sign off. Is Chris Carson going to play this week?
Oh my God. Doesn't matter.
He's going to have a good game if he plays.
I know it does. But the question is, will he come back and resume his full workload?
Yeah, that's a big if, because DJ Dallas has looked good. Yeah, that's all we have for you guys for the Flexcast. We gave you a quarterback. We gave you some running backs. We gave you some wide receivers and some tight ends. Do with it what you may, but, we're going to use it, and we're going to, because we wouldn't be giving you advice that we wouldn't do ourselves. So with that, we're going to sign off, and you guys have a good day. Later.